Mike,
And we're back.
and we're back. Hey, and I actually, Mike and I, I know it looks like we're together, and I know for all of you viewing at home, it seems like Mike and I are sitting next to each other. But the truth is, even as he slurps his coffee right next to my ear, right this ear,
Hmm.
uh, we're not together. We're in fact in different places. This is the magic of technology. And he's in Bremerton, and I'm in Seattle, but I got to see him yesterday. Mike and I have been doing driving tours and seeing customers and friends and folks who have asked for a little guidance and folks who are giving us some guidance. And so, anyway, it's been great. And
Yeah, it was a
yesterday
lot of
we,
fun.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Actually, I
We Mike picked me up in his super nifty Nissan yesterday,
little
and we
teeny
drove
thing,
around.
and we
Uh,
drove around, and we're gonna do more.
Right. Mike did not pick me up in his real car because he was too embarrassed to have me in it. So he rented a car.
It's because my real car is so old, it doesn't even have a USB port in it, and that's what I want. I don't want my car talking to the internet, gigabytes of data a day. That's why. So, besides, my car holds a lot of drums, and that's a thing.
You know what? And then we have somebody in the chat here saying, "Come down to Salem, Oregon." Yes, we will. We will. You know what? We will.
Hey,
It'll
Bill.
be. It'll be a long way to Salem, Massachusetts, but Salem,
Yeah.
Oregon, we can do that. Hey, Mike, you people may have noticed the news blast that you send out every morning. If folks need to sign up, you can sign up on our website for it. Mike does it himself. He's been doing it for 15 years. We changed the look of it this week. So it looks more like our website. It has the Kraken at the top now. I'm putting some little notes from Jake in there every now and then. So if you haven't noticed that, look for the little notes from Jake. They're in the italics. They're very important. Mike, you got some good news yesterday about Pisces.
So, well, some lukewarm good news. It looks like Homeland Security is going to continue to fund Pisces for another year for expansion, as we are working to get states over the line to take on operations and maintenance funding. So that is really good news.
Good.
Hey, we have been working with a lobbyist and writing letters to Congress people, and dealing with legislators in Washington State,
Mm-hmm.
and folks in Montana and Kentucky, and it looks like everything's going to be okay with the funding for another couple of years, and that should get us over the line to where it's a sustainable program, right? Because we don't want federal funding. Nobody
Yep.
does.
Yep. Yep. So, and then three things to tell people, and then we'll get to the news here because we've got a big, big, big story to talk about. We have a panel coming up next week on measuring your risk and third party risk. We're going to be joined by our friend Steve at CyberSaint for that one. We're going to do another webinar on the health and human services CPGs that we need to schedule and put out for folks. That's for our healthcare folks. And we need to get a security awareness training. We have security awareness training on the calendar. It's every month. Don't forget to have your people come to it. Next one is at the end of February. Okay. Now, Mike, the big news: Fulton County, Georgia, has been hit by ransomware.
Well,
Is
we
it ransomware? They've
well,
been hit
so
by
I
a
don't really know.
they've been hit by a cyber attack, but this one is not following the usual pattern. Maybe.
So I don't think there's really enough information being provided by Fulton County to really describe what's going on. It's not clear that it's ransomware. It's not clear that there was an extortion demand. I think there was not. It may be something that partially worked, but apparently their phones are down, internet service is down, and there's a story in Dark Reading this morning that says power is down. So, I mean, we need more information to come out about this, but it's looking awful suspicious. Fulton County being in the middle of what Fulton County is in the middle of right now.
And for
And
people that Fulton County is where Donald Trump
is being
being,
tried.
that's the one where and of the things that he is accused of, this is the one where He was on a phone call and is alleged to have tried to find votes in Georgia, and so that's what that one is about.
Yeah, well,
Um,
it's interesting that in particular, the courthouse has been hit, and they can't access, the legal documentation in their system there.
mhm.
We need more information to come out about this. I can speculate right now on what I think this is, but I think I will hold that until I write it up in a blog and maybe with a little more information. But man, dude, it looks to me like somebody's putting their finger on the scale of the case being tried there right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think importantly, if this turns out to be political, this is something that you've predicted for a long time that
Yeah.
that folks with a that folks with a political bone to pick, are going to start launching cyber attacks.
Or just
Um,
hire mercenaries to do it. They don't even have to do it themselves.
but sure, right. I mean, when I say launch cyber attacks, I mean, hire ransomware
Right.
as a service or, do whatever. If they, especially, they don't have, if they don't have the wherewithal to do it, it's now easy to get that wherewithal.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Or, it could just be a cyber attack. I mean, last week when you and I were talking, we said, cyber attacks against cities and counties are up. And so, that is also true. So we'll have to see here. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see, but I will say that the difference between a state actor and a criminal actor is very fuzzy. And we know that criminal actors in Russia take some marching orders from the state. We know this. We know there's some collusion, some cooperation.
Mhm.
So I'm going to leave it there, and we'll talk more about this later.
Okay. Do you get the feeling Mike wants me to move on? Do you all get that feeling? Because I get that feeling. So
That's I don't want to. I don't want to go off on some wild speculation. I mean, I do, but I'm not going to.
and so you really do. We can all
Really do.
tell that you really do.
Mm.
Okay. Uh, another big story. This China
This is
malware.
big.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You would tell people.
Okay, so first of all, yesterday, congressional hearing, and the director of CISA, the director of the FBI, both talking about how infiltration attacks coming from China are escalating, and targeting U.S. infrastructure, and they're really ramping up the volume about this. And at the
Mhm.
same time, there's this Volt Typhoon group out there, and what they have been doing is, attempting to get into infrastructure, and their initial access is provided by compromised home routers, consumer grade routers, right? Small office, home office. And so the Justice Department said yesterday that the FBI basically took over those routers that had been compromised and cleaned them. And so, not a lot of detail about how they did this, but they said that they sent the command to disable Chinese control of those routers. So the FBI has really stepped into this position of fighting back. It's the Department of Defense that has this defend forward strategy, but it's the Justice Department, the FBI, that are really stepping up to this.
Well, so I mean, I actually think the bigger story about China is the testimony yesterday that
Right.
congressional testimony. I don't know if folks saw, but congressional testimony yesterday that Beijing, that China is the number one worry
Yeah.
in government attacks, obviously.
Well, and so this could portend some kind of action happening against Taiwan. This could be laying the groundwork for that. And if we respond to that, and all of a sudden we
Mhm.
show up there with some warships, power starts going out, water starts not working. I'm genuinely concerned that that's where this is going, and they're really lining up towards marching into Taiwan.
Yeah, yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. Hey, you know, we talked about healthcare a second ago about the HHS CPGs
Hmm.
because we love our acronyms and our initialism.
Cyber performance goals.
There you go. Thank you so much for translating.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, more healthcare continues to get hit by ransomware, and to use the government as leverage to make it worse.
Yeah.
So Black Cat, one of the ransomware groups, has hit Bright Star Care, and now they're saying we're gonna take everything we found to HHS.
Not only that, this is another one where they say they're going to go to potentially file a complaint with the SEC against other organizations that they hit that are publicly traded. So
Hmm.
what they're doing is they're using our own, we'll say, compliance and um, I don't know, fining mechanisms, lawsuit mechanisms against us, and that's a threat now.
Hmm.
And when you see the data that the ransomware payments are lower than they've ever been, only 29% of organizations pay.
Hmm.
They're looking for new ways to monetize, right? And
Hmm.
so now they threaten you with SEC action, HHS action, right? Our own regulatory infrastructure is being used and our own statutory underpinnings that allow class action suits and things like that.
Yep.
So they're paying attention to our law. Maybe they're reading the blast every day. I don't know. Uh, but bad trend. And again, we're kind of doing this to ourselves through our own laws.
Yeah, I mean it's not ideal, but I mean, one of the things that I have to wonder is, with the HHS one, like, is somehow the goal to threaten that you're going to get fined because the ransomware gang is going to say, "Hey, this is how we got in." I mean, I'm that to me seems like an emptier threat than the other one, because healthcare organizations already have to report all of their breaches
Yeah.
to HHS for the wall of shame. So, unless it was really easy to get in, which would then result in a fine, um, I mean, they're going to have to report the
Well, I
breach
think it's
anyway.
yeah, I think it's just public shaming, away from the HHS reporting mechanism. They're making it known that this is what they're going to do, and that's that threat of class action.
Yeah.
So they're just ramping that up, and I kind of agree with you. Reporting to HHS was what the organization has to do itself.
Right.
But yes, if they say, and here's how we got in, and wow, these guys have no controls in place at all, then they're going to get some, regulatory scrutiny and maybe some fines and some other things. But then the Federal Trade Commission comes in with False Claims Act, class action suit hits, all that stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I, we'll see. Um, So there's another story that came out this week, and I think it links to a story that I want to talk about, and it's ransomware payments drop to record low as
Yeah,
victims refuse to pay.
right.
So tell that story, and then I'm gonna connect it to something else.
Sure. Well, again, it's dropped to lower than 30%.
Hmm.
And this is, it's funny that this is according to Coveware, who is a ransomware negotiation firm. All right. So they know. I mean, I think better than anybody.
Hmm.
And the trend started kind of mid 2021.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if there are any laws that are helping to facilitate this. So, for example, in Florida, you can't pay the extortion demand for ransomware. And I don't know if that's part of the signal or not. But what do you want to add to that?
Well, so I want to add to that remember we talked about last week and the week before, which is this thing that the bad guys are doing now, which is they're going after the end victims, the customers, right? They're going after
Yep.
the patients, the citizens, the parents, the children,
Yeah.
whatever. And we talked about why they're doing that, and we thought, oh wait, maybe they're getting paid less than they were before, and if this Covert thing is true, then this is one of the reasons, right? If
Right.
they're not going to get paid by the healthcare organization or the school district or whatever, the bad guys still want their money, so now they have to go after individuals, which is awful.
Yeah. Different
um
different revenue stream because
right.
they've been impacted. Sure.
Right, 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 right. Hey, also big story, Microsoft.
Ugh.
So Microsoft in
This is a sad story. This is
so
a
so
sad
so
story.
so Microsoft discloses a breach.
Mhm.
Okay, look, breaches happen, but the details as they come out.
Well, um, you know, everybody knows that you should not provide administrative privileges to any old schmo on the network. And it turns out that the way that they were able to, and this is an APT group, and it's the one that's actually was involved with the DNC breach long ago in 2015 or whatever that was. This group has also hit Hewlett Packard Enterprise. But when they got Microsoft, it's because Microsoft had a test account that they had given it admin privileges, and through some password grinding, they got that account. Boom, they're in. They've already got the keys to the kingdom, and they went wild. And so, for all of the controls that Microsoft provides, you'd think they would use them.
I'm gonna just clear my throat and finger wag, and yep.
Let's move
Yep.
on.
Yep.
I mean, what do you say about that, right?
I mean, boy.
Humans are in charge of all of this stuff, and ultimately that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we should put AI in charge. That'll fix it.
Yep, sure.
All right, Mike. Threats and vulns. What do we got?
Threats and vulns. First, let me just talk a couple of things that have happened that I think are also important enough to comment about. So first of all, a ransomware gang has stolen a whole bunch of documents from U.S. intelligence agencies, including the FBI. And if they don't pay, they're going to make them all public. That could be enlightening, embarrassing. Yeah, we don't know. On the other hand, there was a cyber attack on Russian Scientific Research Center, and the damage apparently was permanent. And this is Ukrainian, cyber volunteers. I don't know how they're affiliated with a state. They're always positioned as volunteers. They basically destroyed some Cray computers, which is surprising because Cray computers haven't existed for a long time. So, I mean, these are going to be really past end of life. Anyway, that's a couple of things that have happened that I think are noteworthy enough before we move on to T's and V's. Now, T's and V's. Cisco, remote code execution in Unified Communications Manager. Okay, that one's probably pretty scary. And again, when a vulnerability like this is announced and the patch comes out, the scanning for vulnerable systems starts immediately. The reverse engineering of the patch to create the exploit starts immediately. So, treat this as an incident. Drop what you're doing to get patched. Jenkins, which is helps to manage software development. Critical flaw there. The CVE is 23897. Patch. Fortra Go Anywhere. Okay, right. It's a remote access, remote monitoring stuff. Got to get that patched. The CVE, it was silently patched on December 7th, and the company just today started talking about that. But if you haven't patched that, you got to get that patched. They notified all of the customers quietly before. If you didn't take that advice, take it now. And then Telegram. Marketplaces have easy to use phishing kits and malware being distributed in those channels. So, when you were talking about, you don't even need these skills anymore. Telegram kind of emerging as this epicenter for cybercrime will enable you to be a criminal for as little as $230. All right. That's where we've landed, and that's unfortunate. Also, the Avanti vulnerability that's been exploited for days and days and days. They finally have a patch out. Also, patch Chrome.
Yep, definitely patch Chrome. And by the way, it's okay to be that guy who, when you're or gal or whoever, when you're on a Zoom call with somebody and you see that their Chrome hasn't been updated, you should mention it. You should mention it. You should point that out. You should be that person. As I've said before, you should correct people's grammar and you should tell them to patch Chrome. All right, Mike, at the end of all these, there's a kicker. I got one today.
Okay, good, because I could not find anything even funny.
I got one that made me laugh. So as folks know, Mike and I do security awareness training. And one of the things that Mike says in security awareness training is, you get an email from Facebook that says, "Dear Facebook user," and it's fake, obviously. And what Mike says correctly is it's Facebook. Like, of course they know who you are. Why wouldn't they just call you by your name if it was really Facebook? That is the entire purpose of Facebook. to know more about you than you know about you. So, um, I was trying to explain to my daughter why she gets random texts that, say, "Oh, are you Bill?" And I'm like, "No, that's the beginning of a text scam. If you text back, then it turns into this scam or that scam." And so we were looking up what different scams were out there, and there's an email out there where somebody emails you a giant email and says, "I have hacked into your computer and I've been watching you for days. And I know
Mhm.
everything about you. And I know, that you look at porn. I know that you do this. I have video of you," and on and on and on. And the thing that made me laugh is for this, like, of course, it's not true. And for this alleged person who knows everything about you, nowhere in there does it
It's
even
your
use
name.
your name.
Yeah.
Dear
Yeah.
hacked person, I know everything about you and I have your taxes and I know what you watch on the internet, but I don't know your first name.
Mhm.
Anyway, that made me laugh. That made me laugh.
Yeah, just some criminals are smarter than others, and frankly, the bottom of the basement are the advanced fee scams. You know, I'm a soldier in Syria with a barrel of money, and if you'll help me get it back in the United States, you can have a third of it. You know, and it's obviously it goes out. It's a shotgun blast, undisclosed recipients. And they don't know your name because they ask. I've identified you to do this for me, so just tell me what's your name, what's your phone number.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's been great having you here. I hope you like my kicker better than Mike's because actually we laughed at mine.
yeah.
All right. We'll see you all next week. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.